All right, let's talk about ethers. Ethers have the general formula R1 bonded to an O, bonded to an R2, where R is some sort of carbon chain. So I've got carbon chain, O, carbon chain, or you might think of it as a carbon chain with an O stuck in the middle somewhere, like here. Okay? Um, the intermolecular forces between them are pretty weak, and I mean between like one of these and another similar molecule. Okay? Not very strong at all. Why? Since there's no hydrogen bonding. That's the big one in organic chemistry. So when I'm talking about ethers like this, the melting point and the boiling point are going to be low. However, these guys will hydrogen bond to water. So here's an ether. It will be bent in shape. Here's a water molecule also bent in shape. This guy is slightly negative. This guy is slightly positive. So I will get an attraction between these two. So solubility in water is fairly high, but only when what is true? Only when the number of carbons is less than, let's say, 5. As soon as I get 6 carbons here, 7 carbons, 8 carbons, the oxygen just is not as important as in some of the smaller molecules, and so solubility starts to go down. They're not very reactive in terms of organic chemistry, but they are very flammable, okay? And they make very good solvents. Naming. One way to name this thing would say that there's two methyl groups here and here. It's an ether. We call it dimethyl ether. However, this naming system it's a common naming system, general naming system, but it is crap. We will not be using it. We're going to be using another method here. We're going to find the longest carbon chain. So if I'm looking at this example here, is this bigger or is this bigger? This guy's the big guy, yes. Everything else is a branch off of this guy. And this other thing is called an oxy group. It's got one carbon, so this is a methoxy, not a methyl, it's a methoxy group. I don't need to put a 1 here to say it's off of number 1 because there's no choice. It's got to be off of 1 when you only have 2 carbons. So this is methoxy ethane. Okay. This guy here, which chain is longer? Is it this guy or is it this guy? Well, it's this guy right here. I've got a 2 carbon ethoxy branch here. Starts with an E. I've also got a fluoro F. I'm going to name this one alphabetically first, then this one. So I'm going to say that this is off of number 1, 2. This is 2 ethoxy, 3 fluoro pentane, because there's 5 carbons in the longest chain. So there's not much to know here. The naming, we're going to name these the smaller chain with the O as an oxy group off a longer one. We're never going to use that naming system. Here's a little bit about their physical properties. Relatively weak intermolecular forces, and there's their general formula.